HUGO BOSS. He's helped shape how digital and retail come together to create experiences that actually feel luxury. Before that, he co-founded Board Romantic Love. How do you know that? Yes, running everything from e-commerce and live events to fashion film production, including one that made it to the Fashion Film Festival finals in Italy. We know a lot of things.
I was arguing that from my CV.
And a long time friends of mine, and we hear that great ideas should always be a little bit of flair. Alessandro brings equal part of strategy, creativity, and good Italian charm of the team. So, round of applause for Alessandro. Let's have a seat here.
Which side? Close to you?
We can say
Thank you.
so. First of all, thank you so much for Find to organize this beautiful panel. It is 15 minutes fireside chat with Alessandro, and then we have other experienced employees and panelists that will contribute to this interesting conversation. I want not to only have a conversation between me and the panelists, but feel free anytime to raise your hand and ask questions. Before we start, here, I want to give you just an update on how the market in GCC for the luxury and retail is doing. So the first half of 2025 shows extremely good results for our industry. We have UAE that is growing 7% compared to the previous period in 2024. We have KSA, without any surprise, and we'll talk about KSA, grows 57% compared to the previous year. Then we have another country, which is Bahrain, a little bit smaller, but thanks to the opening of the Marassi mall, you probably are aware of, the results are about 30%. And then we have two other countries. Qatar is like a little bit flattish up to the World Cup, so it's only grown 2% versus the previous year. And Kuwait is negative by -1%, despite the first quarter was very good. This gives us a little bit the energy of this region. Yes, we have some lines on some flattish, but I bet you to find worldwide a region or a country where the percentage of the growth compared to the previous year are constantly extremely high and sometimes double-digit growth. Now we go to Alessandro, and we're going to talk a little bit, and we have only 15 minutes, so we need to stay on time.
As we don't talk enough already in our day-to-day life.
So we're going to talk about regional decision-making, localization, scalability, and omnichannel strategy. The first question is on omnichannel definition. So from a strategic standpoint, how does HUGO BOSS interpret the concept of omnichannel? It is more about technology, experience, or organization, and how do you build a regional model that connects stores, e-commerce, and clients.
First of all, thank you, Find, again for organizing this beautiful occasion. I'm glad to spend time with great minds, probably, and getting some insights from it. So, omnichannel is the buzzword. We all use it probably for the past 4 or 5 years. And I have a perspective. To me, it's more of a mindset. The company should actually work in an omnichannel way to be able to somehow adapt to various scenarios. So the components that I see in the definition of omnichannel are, as you somehow mentioned, organization, experience, and technology. But exactly in this world, as an organization that still works in silos or still recognize a channel P&L separated from another one, will always have the friction to be able to navigate a multi-channel or omni-channel behavior or, say, autonomy to take action. Experience at the end is at the core of what we promise to the end customer. We build an expectation, we build a feeling, right? So once you set a standard with your customer base, that become the expectation, the bare standard again. So once you set that, I believe you should be able as a brand to sustain it across channels, regardless where and how they want or your customer want to connect with you. Again, to make it happen, it sounds easy or it sounds obvious, but it's extremely complex. A company should be able to navigate perfectly all those components that represent the brand experience for the customer. So the product, the accessibility of the brand. And again, if a customer wants to have an experience with you by default, it should be exactly the same as the one in a flagship. How do you do? We can go after on HUGO BOSS, how do we approach it? And technology is just the enabler, in my opinion, and is the result of the two. A good technology that doesn't fit the organizational structure of a company cannot be utilized or cannot be scaled. The same thing is a good technology that doesn't respond to the experience that you are promising to your customers would probably be the wrong one. So that's the last component we're looking at. For HUGO BOSS, again, I believe we tick the box for organizational omnichannel, for experiential omnichannel, because it's been years where there is somehow internal PR and preparation towards an horizontal understanding of the value chain, which is not given. In the emerging markets specifically, we are trying to connect the dots. So what we define as standard direct retail, D2C e-commerce, concession models, franchise, you can have many other business units or models. We're trying to connect the dots from a product perspective, fulfillment, accessibility of the product, payments, and most importantly, the customer data. Now, where are we in this shift, in this transition? I believe we're still in an infrastructural phase, as many other peers, I can fairly say. But right now, in this moment in history, even more important is how companies are trying to somehow defend profitability, how the cost discipline is fundamental, and only if you tick these boxes, you probably are flexible enough and fast enough to maintain or to impact processes and save profitability.
I like the sentence when you said we need not to worry anymore in silos. You cannot create today an omnichannel strategy and implementation if a company is still working silos, right? And then the profitability part, that's the transparent and honest here, we need to make our shareholder happy, right? So bringing silos combined with a higher level of profitability, this is generally what makes, again, the shareholder happy. We go to the second point. From HQ to Dubai, a shift in agility. So HUGO BOSS has restructured its regional setup, moving the key leadership from HQ in Germany to Dubai. So Alessandro, how has this transition influenced the decision-making speed, execution, and the rollout of digital initiatives in the region?
I've seen it from both sides. We worked before for the mentioned group, Porter, and then HUGO BOSS Regional Hub, German company, to highlight again. So very different. And what I can say is that you see how dynamic is this market, how fast it's moving. If you do not have a strong leadership in the market, how can you even imagine you could put in place certain strategies that could make an impact? It's absolutely impossible right now. How the luxury segment entered the market 5 or 10 years ago, that's another story. We were in a phase where I would say physical retail expansion and distribution was the core. And then the brands invested also in technological stack in that direction, as well as the contracts with local players, landlords, and distributors, I would say. Then after COVID, e-commerce booming, but booming as a vertical. So luxury brands trying to maximize the same channel. And now we're in a phase where, again, we're trying to build this infrastructure, reconnecting the dots. And in this phase, you even more need a leadership or a structure locally that understands the market and is capable to obtain autonomy, being able to operate, being able to react, to leverage certain technologies or initiatives that are not given. Again, and for me, the biggest struggle was how do I convince a multi-billion company that is investing in global templates that a relatively small market, like the Middle East or emerging markets, which are highly profitable, but probably not the biggest in contribution, how can we be credible by acting locally? So you build trust with your headquarters, you prove that there are local solutions that can actually answer better to the previous 3 points, or actually the experience of the technology, and that's what we're doing. So I believe that's the biggest difference.
So the trust is what you unlocked to obtain then the possibility to develop a local strategy in the market. Without trust, you couldn't have made it, correct?
No chance. No chance.
So that's important. We spoke about Saudi, we spoke about Qatar, let's say already a mature market. We go out as a single city showcasing magnific brands that we all know, and Saudi is picking up at a super fast speed. So for Boss, what are the criteria that guide your decision where you go next, and how do the digital tools support a scalable growth across these new markets?
I forgot how many countries we managed from the emerging markets that made Dubai, but in the Middle East, the concept is we all see the opportunity in Saudi, how many unicities there are in the market from a geographic perspective, generational shift as well, how to be relevant for a luxury brand in the market. It's the challenge we're all designing and facing right now. Some brands are already there, so it is the same for us. It's our big next bet. UAE can be considered as almost a mature market in terms of distribution. But the criteria for us to scale or to scale any digital solution doesn't stand in the cost and benefit analysis of which market should we go first. My opinion is we're trying to build in the UAE an ecosystem that is extremely scalable and modular to additional countries and business models. Because right now, with the partnership we have with the great guys Find and also trading up there, we're building a complete end-to-end ecosystem that's built on digital component like OMS locally, integration with any kind of WMS or concession partners, front end of any kind, building the front end for HUGOBOSS.com in the region, channel app for our sales assistant, the loyalty app for our customer base. Now, the criteria is how modular and how scalable I'm building this setup to then scale it for the rest of the GCC and then scale it eventually for my franchise partners around the globe. We see so many opportunities and digitalization going extremely fast in South Africa, in India, of course. It's probably even more, let's say, the digital revolution is even higher already. Morocco, Nigeria, Lebanon regions. So what we're trying to do, again, the component for choice is the scalability of it.
So it's not a matter of where we're going. Is the most important for you is to build a strong foundation, in this case for you and for Boss in UAE, and then be able to scale up everywhere you can actually.
The bet could be is effectively Dubai becoming also a logistic hub for North Africa, the Southern African continent as well, India. We can touch also Rached eventually. Let's see. But if that's going to be the case, the other component that will remain is the logistic, right? But once you have a technological infrastructure that could be flexibly all of its component and extend it, you did 50% of the job. And I cannot scale, I don't want to scale one, I want to scale as group of countries as we manage 55.
Very good. So you mentioned Find, again, hosting these events. You mentioned trading. I want to tell you something that I think is pretty common for the fashion brands that are attending these events. We are, as a fashion brands, focused, I think, on three big elements. The first is the products. We produce garments that we wear every day. We are focused on clients because ultimately we sell products to them. And then also we're focused on people because in our organization, people first. It's not just a sentence. We really care about how organization is moving, is evolving, is leading the brands. But now let's talk about the importance of the partnership because we are expert in product, clients, and people. So you have collaborated with external partner. I mentioned Find, Trendly here to localize your omnichannel experience. So can you share concrete examples on how these collaborations help tailor your digital strategy to the GCC customers?
Without a local partner or a strong, incredible partner, the trust that we built with an exporter was definitely impossible. So it all started from, we found initially in the relationship with Find the capability to support us in the design phase, also the strategic phase of building a roadmap together, and then implementation phase and maintenance. Those are things, they're components that not easily you can grasp from an exporter when you're still working in an environment of emerging markets, right? We need to optimize extremely our P&L, our ROI on every kind of investment, and we need flexibility and speed to market. So those are the components that we looked in partner like Trading and Find. We found it. And you want a partner that somehow knows the market better than you, You want a partner that is willing to co-create, which is a fundamental component, because I'm sure you guys are getting your platform better since we work together. I hope I get some share on that. But yeah, that's the piece. But concretely, since we operate with them, we're actually, as I said before, starting connecting the dots from and building a digital ecosystem that was not present for us in the UAE. So concretely, we launched the first platform in the UAE some months ago, our D2C commerce. We're moving now into omnichannel in-store app solution for our sales assistant to actually tap into a complete end-to-end model, so we'll be able to fulfill products regardless of where they're sitting and optimizing the rotation, set routes. Next to that, we start integrating completely with the global CRM and loyalty, replicating the loyalty, global loyalty program. With which for the market, the response to me is speed of execution and test and learn. We want to be in the position to test regularly. We want to release roadmaps every 2 weeks or 3 weeks instead of waiting for global roadmaps and release that take months and quarters. This market demands us this, and the partnership built, I suppose, so far is eating as that.
So I like very much the journey that we have discussed now. So we started to the omni-channel approach to remove the silos, right? Then once you have removed the silos, you need to gain the trust of the HQ. And then you start to implement your strategy thanks to external partners that are expert on that. I think you have a video that has been done in Fine, and to show a little bit to the public what you have done with Fine on HUGO BOSS, correct?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
I think it's ready to be shown. Please. Excellent. Now, why are we changing chairs? So I have to sit in this chair. I will take yours. I'm happy to call on the leader chair, Rached, who is responsible for e-commerce and omnichannel for Dior Couture. So a true champion of the customer. Roger blends data creativity and hard-to-do experiences that inspire loyalties. Known for his people-first leadership and that of turning strategy into action. He leads high-performing teams across sales, marketing, and digital, with a business foundation from the American University of Beirut. And a background in both track and field and human rights, Roger brings both purposes and momentum to everything he does. A round of applause, please, for Roger. Thanks so much. with you. Thank you for this really extensive intro. Yeah, it's a pleasure. Look, I think it's going to be super interesting for our public tonight to see how Box and Dior ultimately reach the same results, but in a different way. Correct? We're going to talk with you about localization of the digital infrastructure, the HQ integration. I think this will be the big difference versus what Alessandro told us. And the digital growth in the hyper luxury, because yes, Dior is a hyper luxury brand. So before the introduction of the localization and shift from store models, what did your digital presence in the GCC look like and how it has transformed in the recent years?
Okay, so basically it's history of how everything began with Dior. I think it's like all other brands, luxury brands, were very fearful of what's going to happen online, etc. Just stumbled onto e-commerce quickly in 2020, so after the COVID. So it did it in a very rushed way. So the problem was with this approach, it wasn't very client-centric. So we just had an offer online with no like a real omnichannel experience, meaning being able to seamlessly find the entire catalog online. The rest of the catalog was very little, very minimal. So I think it's what both brands experienced. And the idea is this is not a model for Dior specifically, because at the end of the day, we cannot expect a client who has an average basket size, say, boutique of around 10,000 dirhams to not find the product they want online, or to be able to, let's say, do what we classically do, so research online before actually going to the boutique and purchase. So in a nutshell, Dior stumbled into on.com, just building out the basics, and eventually transformed it into a more experimental, let's say, experience online. The new launch, the new website launch happened very recently, actually, in 2024.
So I assume that the acceleration after COVID helped the brand to think more about e-commerce.
So just surprisingly, just to maybe an industry, ultra luxury, let's say, consumers don't really shop a lot online. So in terms of penetration, we're talking about very different levels. For instance, we're closer to 2%, 3% penetrations, even in mature markets. In a nutshell, it didn't grow that fast when the experience was very poor online. We only started to experience growth after we had harmonized, let's say, the website with one global website. We have a seamless, let's say, experience between online and offline, so clients can actually book hotels in boutique. They can actually reserve products, they can actually reach out to client service agents. And this is critical because, again, clients who will pay online, and we have lots of baskets of 50,000, 60,000 dirhams, which is shockingly manageable, let's say, brands who do FMCG or these types of, let's say, products. So they want to have a safety when they buy, whether it's fraud check or whether it's payments available or whether it's advice. So if you're hesitant, you want to make sure that one, you're chatting to an agent, you have like very limited waiting time, etc. So this is critical for the success of a website. And we only saw it after the, let's say, the relaunch. Just to give you a rough idea how clients are super sensitive to what they see of the brand online. Just anecdotally, people thought it was a fake website until we launched the full experience online.
But it's really, you mentioned your 2-3%, but another KPI that recently has been published on the first half of 2025 is that in the GCC, the e-commerce penetration, let's say that the piece of the pie that e-commerce represents in the fashion industry today reached already 15%. Of course, we have company ultra luxury, as you mentioned, we want to have the experience in store, but 15% is among the highest in the world. Now, operating under LVMH ecosystem, Dior must align with Paris HQ frameworks while responding to the local nuances. So, how do you balance the global direction from Paris with the local market realities in Dubai and in GCC?
So great question. I think both of you know it firsthand since you've been in LVMH. It's a constant fight between the local markets and the central teams. It's a fair game, it's a fair fight, because obviously the objective is to maintain universal, let's say, image of the brand. So it's very complicated to localize, let's say, from an image point of view. So really what we try to do, and it's understandable, is to try as much as possible to localize the expectations of clients. For instance, in Europe, clients don't expect to have the same day delivery or like within 2-3 hours. Regionally, if you don't do that, you're out of the game. So technically what we've done in terms of localization, and in spite of that, it was a fight because we need to ensure, let's say, consistency in deliveries, so same-day deliveries for high-end packages within bags with perfume, like the standard of Dior. It has to be respected. In order to execute local expectations for high-end consumers, we have to put in place lots of, as we say, so technically we do like mystery shoppers on a weekly basis, we report on the delivery quality on a weekly basis, etc. So this is really from a logistical point of view where we have to move from next day delivery to same day or few hours delivery in the region. So currently we operate in UAE and Saudi, we're opening up soon in other countries. Other expectations are payment methodologies, and as you all know, in e-com, it's a great conversion driver. So the less you're integrated with your financial payment local ecosystem in the region, the less conversion, and of course other payment methods available. I'm just going to give the example of Tamara, not for Dior, but technically, for instance, this is a critical payment method, which in the region is considered as a normal or a natural payment method. Centrally for Dior, it's a no-go because it degrades in a way that's in the image. So small, tiny topics like that could be huge discussion topics. And this is what I mentioned in terms of fight on culture relevance in the region. So Tamara, again, it's totally natural. Everyone expects it. We have it on ultra luxury platforms in the region, Unas, other players. Nonetheless, it's a fight, and it's an ongoing fight to be able to convert, because for me, my priority is convenience for the client. To recap, what we try to do is to localize on services, which is not necessarily image related. Then, of course, you have languages, etc., so that we can make sure that we capture the search intent, let's say, on the website properly.
Thanks so much. I think there is a common line between the two brands that you both provide to gain trust. So I merged the two key pillars that you mentioned. Fight, yes, but once you have the trust, you can implement regional flexibility and, let's say, adaptation to fulfill the needs of the customer.
Exactly.
Now, the digital infrastructure and integration challenges. So what were the key challenges in localizing the Dior digital backbone, from payments, logistics to CRM integration, and which area requires most adaptation to succeed in the region? We talk a little bit more, but you can give us some more examples.
So I mentioned them, but I'm going to mention a very important point, which for me is the email component, because today we're integrating a digital ecosystem and we're trying to convert, let's say, store operating stores, whether it's SAs, whether it's boutique directors, etc. We're picking stocks. So we're optimizing the stocks of our boutiques to be able to service, so we can have the largest, let's say, width of catalog possible. The only way to do it when you're nascent, let's say, as a platform, is to optimize your stocks from boutiques. So basically, ship from store, as you mentioned. This was the way to enlarge it. So what do we get? Resistance. So technically, in order to have operations that run smoothly, because the backbone of digital is operations, we need to make sure that we have teams who understand the importance of omnichannel. We need to, of course, align KPIs. It's a big HR job to do, because yes, we can talk from now until the end of days about the importance of e-com, but at the end of the day, people are very sensitive to how you incentivize them and how you approach them. So this for us was a big challenge in order to get them to prepare on time, make sure that we respect SOPs that were put in place. So this was critical to be able to succeed, because at the end of the day, the digital ecosystem, if you want to implement it, you can decline it. Of course, you face some technical challenges, developing specific payment portals like for the region, integrating 3PLs in the region, which are not necessarily global partners. But at the end of the day, this can be overcome with technical tools and people when we do the testing, UAT development. But we need to make sure that the full process is timely, to deliver on time, without any issues to our clients to deliver. It's maybe a weird thing, but for us, it's a critical point that let us succeed, let's say.
Very clear. Last question, and then we go for a common question for you both. So the GCC is a unique market for ultra luxury, as I said before. How do high-end customers here engage digitally compared to those in other markets? What your peers in other regions tells you and what you can bring on the table when you discuss with them.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe it's not seem repetitive because your client globally, they localize in a way. However, obviously they have even higher expectations in the region. So I gave a few examples today. For example, cash on delivery, it's a big method in Saudi, regardless whether they're. So it's critical that we can provide like what they expect as a minimum service, which is not in line with the central or let's say other countries, except for some nuances, Japan, they love to do it as well. So this is critical in terms of the behavior is obviously aligned with expectations which are higher than other regions. They need to be able to call the client service up until 11 p.m. so late. They need customized services. We do that, for example, if we see complaints, we immediately call back, we do follow-ups, we check what's happening. And of course, in terms of clienteling, this is a very big component. They expect a lot of personalization and a personalized experience. So technically, we make sure that within the pyramid of clients, so classify them specifics like that, and we integrate them into the boutique journey. As you mentioned, omnichannel, it's not a nice buzzword, it's an actual expectation. Today, clients navigate between online and offline. They want to make sure that, let's say, their status is preserved, so ultra in the company. And this is reflected via customized invitations for boutique shows or specific materials to present specific collections. Are adapted to them, that we send it to them. So these expectations differ from global because, again, the region has a certain level of expectation, which is definitely higher than the rest of the world. So ultra personalization is key. And of course, they want to see part of the family. At least I'm talking about the higher up tier, where so buyers who buy above 20k euros, for example, per year, and then you go up to buys 200k, 300k per year. So these people really require personalized SAs. So we allocate them specific SAs, even if they're main boutiques, econ. So yeah, that's a bit. These are minimum expectations. We do that globally, but in the region they expect a step further, which is weekend services, which is if they want to adapt to order and change it. So we do that in spite of. So it's not eco-friendly because eco is obviously volume classification. But we cannot oversee these types of clients. Very, yeah, it's good. It's very weird for someone who's not. I was
at the beginning.
Right? I came from Max FMCG. I worked for L'Oreal before, so for me it wasn't shock.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Okay, interesting. Thank you so much. Now we go back to Alessandro and we start to look at the future. Looking, let's say 2-3 years, maybe less than that. What will you see as the strongest digital growth drivers for the premium and luxury brands in GCC?
I would go back to the same infrastructural topic that I was talking about before. I see the full scale and potential to be unlocked more from, instead of marketing fancy elements or initiatives, more into infrastructure. Like if effectively we will be able as a luxury brand bring in a similar level of catalog that we have in mature markets. And we cannot do so by only satisfying the D2C demand of the UAE or KSA, I suppose. We would have to look into also the B2B side of things and grow the regional and geographical abilities. In that case, probably digital could start playing another role because we are more offered to effectively satisfy the demand and this positive and very interesting migration trends that we see in the region. I will not bet all of my pennies on just as technology, even more in a case like yours, where the real omnichannel is built on the extra mile, right? On capability to provide the product and the service in manners and ways that are not functional or not technically driven.
So we're going back to the importance of the operation, as you were mentioning. Despite your service clients that purchase 200k per year, euro, not dirhams, operations are today the most important, one of the most important elements, and maybe for the future it is. What about you? What do you think for the next 2 years to be a key driver?
So for us, like really what's critical, so today we're not where we want to be yet, at least from a clientele point of view. We do not have yet the capability to service thousands of clients in a personalized way as we do in boutiques. So we have obviously journeys for them boutiques with having journey, follow up on purchases, etc. So one of the key drivers is for us, it's how do we integrate like client-side tools and we mix them with AI, at least not few too many in a huge way, but segmented in a way where we can actually extend the experience beyond, let's say, the upper tier clients. So this would make it an even more harmonized experience for e-com clients. So this is one thing that we are betting on. CRM automation. So we would like to be able also to automate a little bit further CRM. This is also a fight between the brand and even LVMH center on tech, let's say. So how can we customize newsletters and cater like specific wish lists, requests to each and every single client based on their behavior on the website, purchase history, etc. So it's in the working. It's just about how to execute it. So this will bring growth. Again, specifically, maybe more relevant for Dior, where clients expect personalization above all. Well, we mentioned the omnichannel integration, which is even fully more like further integrated. So technically, so one-to-one meetings where they can occur online in more, let's say, augmented reality way, because today it's limited, clients are not fully satisfied, but they still want to be able to explore the products firsthand. And of course, one critical point for us is globalizing storytelling. This is maybe specific to Dior in the East, where, for example, Ramadan stories are not as obvious as the brand has very high scrutiny on what do they vehicle as messages, etc. So we would like to find better ways to create localized storytelling for big moments, because of course big moments are really a big chunk of our turnover. So this is one thing. And finally, just on performance media, so we still need to test and see, like what could be the best attribution modeling we can do in order to improve the ROAS and the traffic quality for the image. So this is something we collaborate on. At least we're collaborating on with our agencies at the moment, so we can improve it.
Very good. First of all, let me say that I'm very happy about these replies. Why? Because you might have noticed that we haven't spoken yet about AI. So only now you spoke about and you mentioned about AI. So I think we should be very proud of it, because yes, AI is the evolution, but we have built altogether businesses that are fantastic and managing without AI. So still we can be proud that our brains are still working as of today, let's say. But the next question, so after 10 questions, of course, the 11th one is about AI. So finally we kick off this topic. And on the next panel, we will have also attached to it how AI is shaping the digital strategy today, from personalization, you just mentioned, to clienteling and predictive retail, and how you see that the role of AI will evolve in the next 5 years in our industry. Alessandro, you start.
I believe, at least from HUGO BOSS perspective, we started fairly early implementing some sort of AI and automation in our organization. I believe we were one of the first brands globally to release content production AI generated at a certain level. Now, how are we distributing it towards countries and use cases? That's another story, because there's a lot of components related to regulation and policies. But the technology, the investment, and the attention is already there. In terms of hyper-personalization, working at scale, that's the bare minimum we need in order to operate those volumes. Personalized journeys are literally at the base of what we've been doing for the past years, and now we're making it even faster and more detailed. But again, we're still, in my opinion, infrastructural building phase, for which until you effectively integrate further component of your ecosystem, including customer data, including the component of we have a lot of tourists coming to the UAE. Are we actually following perfectly the multi-channel and multi-geographical nature of this consumer, of these fans? We're not there yet, in my opinion. So we can have the best AI possible, but we're still working on the infrastructure. To me, the real value in the long term should come from the invisible reach, the piece that would save working capital, forecasting, planning, budgeting, reconciliating. We're talking about several business models, B2B, B2C. It's direct, one is a concession, one is a health marketplace. Like, we need to definitely leverage a more I would say, productive technology that would support us in the clustering developing and clustering controlling. And that's where I would expect AI to come to help us. We need to be ready, and again, we're doing a decent job.
Here, I think you mentioned something at the beginning. It's really important that AI today in our industry cannot exist if the quality of the data is not good. And sometimes, unfortunately, let's be honest, the quality of the data is not at a sufficient level to allow the AI to operate as we would like to. Good. From your side, what is the AI perspective?
So obviously, like everyone else, we're still wondering how to do it perfectly. Because it's complicated, specifically also for luxury brands. There are tools that exist already, but it's not yet clear how to use them. So technically, for example, you can imagine like tools that could localize creatives, that could adapt, like you could put a picture, for example, or whatever, and then to put your clothes on it, like text, etc. So it's a very delicate topic because it's like how do you make things again brand integrated, why integrated AI, which should be wild if you open options for clients. So anyway, so we have to, like, from what I understand, we need to look at those things. Just day to day, in terms of today, what we'll do is already, and what we will be executing very closely, it's like predictive recommendation, which is quite basic, but still has to be fine-tuned to make sure that it's accurate. One, dynamic merchandising, this is a great one, I think, for everyone. So we used to do it manually, we need to do rankings, all of that, the products, you can merchandise properly for the proper products. So these are quick wins, so high fruits that we are looking at and should be declined or put in place in the coming few months. Fraud detection, content personalization, these are the basics that we are looking to execute quickly. And there's no danger in that because it's product centered, there's no generic, like we're not generating anything, it's just data management, data analysis, and then recommendations based on client behavior, client profiles, history, etc. So this is today. Now in the future, what we're aiming to do and what we would love to do, and this is where it becomes challenging, it's basically generative AI. So how do we put in place something that recommends or creates something that has not been approved by, let's say, studios, by center studios, imaging, etc., to be able to be declined in the market.
Another fight.
Again, everything is a fight. Another fire. But it's a fair fight as well, because there is room when we do an adaptive storytelling, which is at the end of the day the essence of luxury. Nonetheless, you need to make sure that the technology is perfect, designed, and that it will be accurate. And this is where the challenge is. So this is what I was mentioning in terms of tools exist. We haven't yet agreed what would it look like in order to execute it. Clienteling AI. So this is particularly, we mentioned it before today in terms of crunching for that, segmenting clients, creating wish lists, recommending personalized items. That's easy to say. When you do it for 10 clients, 15 clients, when you have SAs and boutiques managing 50 clients, still manageable. How do you do it when you have tens of thousands of clients with different types of purchases and not enough people to do it? So this is a big challenge. How do you hyper-personalize with that? And finally, predictive retailing. So obviously, how do you combine your CRM with, of course, like behavior data of your clients in boutiques and online to be able to offer them the right experience in boutique, invite them to the right events, spoke invitations to specific launches, etc. So lots of topics. Obviously, there's a gold mine to be uncovered there. But the big picture is, if you go too fast, what do you do? So it's like the balance for Dior today. How fast to grow, and not to miss the goal. But the lucky thing for Dior, or at least it's that it has like the luxury to take a little bit of time, not too much, but a little bit. So technically, like we're trying to decline, just to amplify human touch without putting it aside. You would watch us playing so that you can do it better. Maybe.
Guys, thank you so much. A big round of applause for Alessandro and Roger. Thank you so much. Now, for question of timing, these gentlemen will be available right after our section. So in case you have a question, please go directly to them.